Greetings and welcome to the first Tea of the Day video of 2014. I have a special tea to share with you today. So Teavenger has been sending me samples for a little bit now, and last year they sent me this really nice raw pu-erh. And the information about it is here if anybody does want to look it up on their website. It is a really great one. The weird thing about it, it's very young. So pu-erhs have vintages, kind of like wines. They often get better the longer they sit. Most of the raw pu-erhs I've had in the past are from 2006-2007 range. What happens with them is the bitterness that's associated with a young pu-erh dissipates over time. So you'll have a sweeter flavor, sweeter aftertaste. That apricot flavor really comes out in the tea. And I think that's the most enjoyable quality of a raw pu-erh for me, at least. So I got this one in the mail and I was a little skeptical. 2012. That's really, really recent. It's probably going to be really bitter. Tried it. It was not. It actually tasted like it had aged longer than anything I'd tried before. And it was just really, really delicious. So I've slowly been working my way through the sample, trying to make it last as long as possible. And they had a nice Thanksgiving sale, so I decided to go ahead and get the big cake. And I've been just holding off on opening it because it's kind of exciting. It's very beautiful, and I'm actually a little bit sad to start damaging the gorgeous cake. Needless to say, last Sunday I brewed a fabulous cup with the remainder of the sample, and I made a tweet about it. And the next day, somehow the tweet got on the BuzzFeed, and my Twitter account was far more exciting than normal for a few days. But it really, really was the best cup of pu-erh I've ever made. I don't know if I'll ever be able to repeat it. Hopefully, since this is the same tea, I'll get a similar result, but we will just have to see. The thing about pu-erh, I think I've been using too much. When I made this cup last Sunday, I just tossed in the rest of the sample packet, which I didn't think was going to come out strong enough, and it was just perfect. So I will work hard to use less. I'm one of those people that always thinks, oh, more tea, it's going to taste better, but that's just simply not true. It's difficult to measure a lot of teas, such as pu-erhs that have big leaves. You've seen me use my teaspoon measurement for most things that are kind of compact for this particular tea vessel. However, I think that a scale, weighing them in grams would be best for the pu-erh. I don't have a scale, so I just kind of tend to eyeball putting pieces in there. So we'll see what happens today. Alright, shall we begin? Nah. I can't pull off Benedict Cumberbatch. I'm sorry, I tried. Let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to carefully unwrap this so you can see how gorgeous the cake is. It came in this really nice package. As I mentioned before, I'm really sad to start breaking pieces off of this. I mean, look at that. It's beautiful. So you are seeing me open my first high-quality pu-erh cake live on camera. Alright, I'm going to try to not unwrap it all the way, but enough for you to see. Ah, look at that. Beautiful. Let me zoom in. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm going to focus on not putting a ton of it in here. And we'll just carefully start to break off a little bit right here. One of of the great things about it, this one is just so fragrant. You get that nice apricot note to it. It just smells really, really great. And it also tastes great as well. Alright, so that is actually all I'm going to put into this container. My first teapot held 6 ounces. I feel like this one holds more around 7. I haven't actually measured it yet, but it is slightly larger than the first teapot I had. So I think I am just going to wrap this whole thing back up and put it back in this lovely envelope it came in. There we go. So another important thing to consider when making pu-erh is rinsing the tea. And that can seem a bit counterintuitive at first. You might think, well, I'm washing out the flavor. I'm losing stuff with this first rinse. But really what's happening is you're rinsing off things that have been on the outside since it's been aging, and it actually takes away a little bit of that bitter edge. So the tea will be much sweeter and much more flavorful, actually, in the good way, once you have rinsed it. I know sometimes I forget and I don't rinse it, and I do notice a difference when I forget. So I would say always rinse before you make your first real cup. And to do this, you simply pour in some water. I don't usually do a full cup. I just, swish it around a little, and then I just pour it off. So now we're ready to go ahead and brew our first real cup that we'll save to drink. Okay, so we'll pour in the water just like that. As I have mentioned in the past, if your teapot has a hole in it, that is to let the steam out. If it's plugged up with water, the tea is going to slosh out all over the place. So I always just make sure that the air hole is unobstructed, put the lid on. Sometimes the steam in this teapot will end up condensating and filling up the hole, and then the tea will start coming out. It's just one of the hazards of making tea, I suppose. Okay, I've set the timer for 3 minutes. I found that that was the optimal time for this particular tea. That's what I did last week, and it worked out splendidly. Alright, our 3 minutes are almost up. Look at that beautiful color that's developed. And now it is time to pour. So the tea is still rather hot right now. I'm going to give it a few minutes to sit, and the moment of truth will happen. We'll see if it beats last week's cup. Alright, I think the tea is cooled enough to sample. Let's see how I did. That is a good cup of pu-erh. Probably not quite as good as last Sunday. I don't think anything will ever top that fabulous cup of tea, but it is still quite close. And I'm very satisfied that the large cake tastes very similar to the sample. So this is making me happy. It's a very mellow cup. You don't have that bitterness that you find with some fairly young raw pu-erhs. So I would say this is a good one for beginners to raw pu-erh to try. It does taste very much like an aged raw pu-erh, which is excellent. So anyway, I'm going to cut the camera and finish enjoying this cup. But, oh, one other thing. You can get multiple cups out of the leaves for a tea like this. You just keep adding more boiling water, and I would do 3 minutes for the next two, maybe start doing 4 for the third and fourth. But I've often still enjoyed them all the way through 4 to 5 steepings, which is pretty impressive. Eventually you will notice a decline in the flavor, but for a long time it tastes great. So keep on brewing.